Noted, it says that this is recording. Great, wonderful. Yes. Hello, Dr. Melissa Tranquille, motivational life coach and founder of Peak Living with Mel. I'm excited to be here tonight. We have an interesting topic tonight. I just say briefly, we posed a question in our Facebook group and we asked persons to contribute on topics that interest them. So over the next few weeks, we'll be speaking on topics which concerns persons in the group. But nonetheless, these topics also pertain to life coaching because that's what life coaching is about. As a life coach, we help people in their personal and professional goals. We help to empower persons so that they can succeed in those goals. And sometimes someone may come to you and one of those goals may be a financial one because they're way in over their head in debt. So we're going to talk about today how to get out of debt quicker. I want to thank, I can't remember her name in the group, but she contributed this topic. I want to thank you for participating. It's wonderful. And I'm sure that although many persons did not contribute the exact same topic, but nonetheless, they'll be able to get value from the training because I believe debt is a subject that concerns us all. Now, I won't go so much into the definition because we all know what debt is. We all know that debt is something that we borrowed and we have to repay, whether it's to a person or to an organization. But before we start and talk about ways to get out of debt quicker, we can't address that unless we address first, how do we get into debt? Because life coaching helps you to come out of your problems through going through a period of reflection. So how do we get into debt in the first place? Now, there are some causes of debt which are beyond our control. For example, redundancy, loss of employment. Unfortunately, some of us have health issues that just come up upon us, whether you've gotten into an accident, whether it's a health issue that surprised you. And in other instances, it's family issues. Divorce or separation, these sorts of issues all contribute to a debt problem arising in the house. Other reasons why we get into debt is because we have certain goals or needs, dreams in life that we want to meet, whether it be a new house you wish to buy, a car you wish to buy, you wish to pursue further education, so you wish to pursue your degree. And these are some of the other reasons that we get into debt. We all have dreams, desires, wants, and in pursuit of those dreams and desires, we find ourselves having to take a debt in order to satisfy that goal. Now, before we go into how to get out of debt, we have to understand that there's a classification for debt. There are what we call good debts and bad debts. Now, good debts are simply necessary debts. So I want you to understand this before we get into the topic. You know, sometimes you hear of debt and you hear persons say, oh, I don't ever want to be in debt. But nonetheless, there are good debts. There are some very good debts. And good debts, basically, the characteristics of good debts are debts incurred for things that increase in value. Debts that contribute to your productivity and your efficiency. Debts that will enhance your possibility for future income, or it will help you to maintain a more sustainable income. These can be characterized as good debts. And I'll give some examples. Your mortgage. You have a mortgage, you take that mortgage, and as you pay that mortgage, it increases in value. So that's a good debt, things that increase in value. Home equity loans or student loans, it's your possibility for future income. Means of transportation. Now, someone may not view a means of transportation, they want to buy a car as a good debt. But imagine this. Let us just assume that you live a certain distance from work and it will cost you, like in England, transportation cost is very high. So if you live where I live in Milton Keynes and you have to go to London, you find your monthly ticket by train would be about over 600 pounds. Whereas if you were to take your car, driving to London with your car might cost you way less. So hence, you can view buying a car as a good debt because number one, It will cost you less. You'll be able to save on some of that money and hence retain more of your income. And also, depending on where you live, it will help you to consume less time to get to work. So it saves you that stress. It saves you on time. And as we know, time is a precious commodity. And it's valuable. And if you can save on your time, if buying a car will help you to save on that time, then of course it is definitely a very good debt that you can incur. There are bad debts. And bad debts basically are the opposite of the characteristics that I outlined for good debts. They do not increase in value. They don't help to make you more efficient and productive. Neither do they provide a possibility for future income or help to maintain a more sustainable income. And I'm sure we can right away think of some bad debts: credit card debts, store cards, cash advance loans, payday loans. These are all examples of bad debts. Now, I know that credit cards can seemingly be perhaps in our mind, our perception, as something good to have because we can rely upon it in our time of need. However, the truth of the matter is, regardless of what we perceive credit card debt, it is not a good debt because it does not, and I'll go back to that slide, it does not help to increase in value for you. It does not add value. It does not help to enhance your possibility for future income, but rather, we will get more into this later. If it's badly managed especially, it can worsen things for you. So just some key points to note. That when you're paying, for instance, your interest rate on a mortgage, it is far lower than the interest rate you will pay on a credit card. And we all know, we have all used credit cards, that there are several types of interest that you incur each time that you use your credit card. Whether you use it from the cash machine, whether you use it online, you incur interest every single time that you use your credit card. And in some instances, I'm no credit card expert, and disclaimer here, I'm no financial debt management expert. I'm merely here to teach you and enlighten you. So what I was about to say, I forgot my trend of thought. Yes, what I wanted to say that in some instances, that when you use your credit card, there is even interest upon the very interest that you've paid. And you can research that further and you'll discover that it is true. So this is something to bear in mind. While you pay your mortgage, even land, the value increases. And this is why it's considered a good debt. Whereas a credit card debt is not aimed in any way at improving your earning potential. So now let's get into the crux of the matter. We've discussed debt, and we don't need to go into it into much detail because we're all adults here and we understand it. But debt affects your life and it affects your family. Whether it's good debt or whether it's bad debt, the truth of the matter is debt impacts us. Now, we all know there's a financial impact for debt, and especially if we were not able to manage our debt properly. It impacts our credit score, it puts financial constraints on the household, and of course, the repercussions of this is that it's not just a financial impact, but it also impacts your entire life and your well-being. And this is why in some instances, when there is a high case of debt in the household, it ends in divorce, you know. There are lots of instances where persons have separated because of the financial problems in the relationship or in the marriage. And of course, your peace of mind, it takes away your peace of mind. It affects your well-being. It affects your happiness and your joy, especially and in most instances when you begin to feel like you're way in over your head and you can't seem to find a way out. And another thing too, before I get into how we can get out of debt, let's talk about the temptation a bit. And I think we all face this temptation. Some of us have learned to manage the temptation, whereas for some of us, we're still in that phase where we're trying to manage it. And what is that temptation? the temptation is this. Let's say we've gone to the commercial center or we've gone shopping and the sale is on, whether it's the Christmas sale, the Valentine's sale, the New Year's sale. I mean, I've lived in Paris, for instance, and every summer there's a summer sale. The summer sale is the best in Paris. It's the best I've seen. I've lived different parts in the world. I've lived in the Caribbean. I've lived in the UK. I've lived in Trinidad, in St. Lucia. And all the countries that I've lived, the best sale I've seen is in Paris. You know, in summer sale, you have 75% off. I mean, here in the UK, you have summer sale. And sometimes you might see 75% off if you see 50. And even if you see 50% off, it's the really lovely things are not on sale. Whereas in Paris, when you go to the stores with the high mode stores, the Printemps and the Galeries Lafayette, and they're selling the Lancel bags that cost $1,000. In the summer sale, I bought a Lancel bag. You could get it at £200, £100. So the sale is great. Now imagine this scenario. The sale is on, the prices look good. You're shopping, you're currently shopping. Perhaps you set a budget, I hope. But the temptation comes. And the temptation is stronger when you have a credit card in your purse, because there is this innate perception that it is my money. However, in reality, we are not spending our own money. We are spending borrowed money. And this is why it is critical as a first step in trying to devise ways to come out of debt is to consider whether temptation impacts you. Does temptation impact you sometimes? Do you find yourself going shopping and you're buying more than you plan to buy? You spend more than you plan to spend? Or something looks so beautiful and you really didn't plan to take it, but you could just throw that one in there? I mean, honestly, take a reality check. And it will require you to be honest with yourself. And if you've followed many of my teachings, you will certainly by now be accustomed to what I'm about to say. Change starts with first being honest with yourself. Because even if you were to devise ways to get out of debt quicker, and you do not deal with the fundamentals, starting with you, the journey in you, you will still find yourself eventually falling back into the same hole. And I'm here to help you tonight, to teach you tonight how to climb out of that hole so that you don't go back into that same hole. And one of the starting points to control. Recording resumed. So I was in my trend of thought with the temptation. I was about to say, I believe, one thing that I practice to avoid the temptation is I be focused. If I plan to go shopping, I am focused on what I plan to buy. If I do not plan on buying certain things, I do not go looking at it. That's one thing that I've done. And it's a practical thing you could perhaps try to implement. I don't go looking at it if I don't plan to buy it. Depending on how important it might be, nonetheless, I may look at it and plan when I intend to buy it. So I just want to encourage you as a first step, before we even talk about ways to get out of debt quicker, as a first step is to go on that journey with you and ask yourself, review your shopping habits. What are your shopping habits? Look at in fact, we'll get into that. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but we'll get into that. But look at your budget and see what are the things that you have debt on, and it will be able to give you an idea of your habits. Is your debt comprised more of bad debt, or is your debt comprised more of good debt? So go on the journey within and begin to search yourself to see if you're one who are affected by the temptation. Let's continue here. And if you're feeling stuck right now, I'd like to say a favorite line from my husband. Don't bury your head in the sand, he likes to say. There is no debt problem that is without a solution. Honestly, there isn't. There isn't any debt problem that you can possibly have and you can't find the solution for it. So here we're going into the good news. Ways to get out of debt quicker. Let's start with number one. The first thing you have to do before we even jump into, oh, I'm going to find a new job, or I'm going to get a promotion, or whatever it be. The first thing, principal thing that you need to do is to first sort out your income and expenditure. Because what I want to say now from a life coaching perspective, right? What I want to say from a life coaching perspective is that right now, if you are in a debt situation and you want to get out of debt, first of all, you need to identify your goal. And your goal right now is a financial goal. If you've listened to my previous trainings, you will recall that I've said that we all have goals in life. And if we look at Zig Ziglar's Wheel of Life, we will discover the different types, the different categories. And right now you have a financial goal. And your financial goal is to get out of debt. Put it simply, that is your financial goal. So when you sort out your income and expenditure, what you're actually doing is you're trying to establish what is the first step when you do goal setting, is to establish where you are right now. And this is why you're going to sort out your income and expenditure. Yes, you know you way in over your head. Sometimes I talk too fast. I think I better slow down now. You way in over your head with debt. And you can tell because you know that you struggle during the month. You know, you struggle to pay your bills or whatever your struggle may be. But it's completely different to when you actually sit down and you get pen to paper and you decide, okay, now I'm going to sort out my income and expenditure. And the reason, again, I will repeat for doing this, is to establish where you are right now. That is the first stage in the goal setting process. And some of the questions to help you establish that. What percentage of your expenditure is debt? You write down your budget, your monthly budget, you examine it, and you determine what percentage of your expenditure is debt. How much is your disposable income? Determine if you struggle to cover your priority bills. And which priority bills are you struggling to pay? And perhaps, which priority bills can you reduce as a result? Do we really need to have the sports channel, the movie channel, the documentary channels, or all those extra packages that you know they have us pay for? There was a time I had the sports channel and I took it out because we weren't looking at the sports channel except when it was Football World Cup. You know, so it was a completely waste of time. And when it's Football World Cup, we can get it on the other channels on the television. So it was a waste of income. So examine your priority bills, and perhaps even in examining your priority bills, you can discover that there are ways that you can reduce your priority bills. Do you find yourself falling back on your overdraft each month? All these are questions to help you to establish where you are right now. Each month you find yourself back in your overdraft. Yes, the bank has given us a limit for our overdraft, whether it be 2,000, whether it be 1,000, whether it be 500. But this does not mean because the bank has made this facility for you that it is something that you need to be falling into month after month after month. Are you going further into debt to recover debt? Because some persons, what they do is that they use their credit card, right? They borrow from one credit card to pay off another credit card. And what they're actually doing is that it's a spiral. You know, they find themselves in a debt spiral. What they're actually doing is they're going further into debt to pay off that other debt. Except that when they borrow, there's 0% interest for a period of time. Then that's something completely different. If there's 0% interest for, say, let's say 6 months, then you know within the 6 months you need to pay that off. Or else if you don't, the interest comes on and you find yourself again in the spiral. But in many instances, people are not aware of some of this information. And in the majority of cases, they borrow from one credit card to pay off another credit card or to pay off another debt, and they find themselves in a debt spiral. So the first thing you need to establish is to sort out your income and expenditure. And in the goal setting process, what you are doing is you are establishing where you are right now. And this will give you great clarity. And when you've achieved that clarity, don't go into don't entertain the negative emotions that may creep upon you. Don't entertain those negative emotions. The situation is what it is. This is life. Sometimes this is how it ends up. This is life. Don't entertain those negative emotions. Remember, don't keep your head stuck in the sand. There is a way out. And let's just insert this, just interject this here for your consideration. In sorting out the income and expenditure and in moving forward as ways to get out of debt quicker, some of the practices to commence right now, if you're not already doing so, is paying your priority debt first, always. Your taxes, your rent, your mortgage, fuel bills, utility bills, pay them first. I do it. It's the first thing when you get you're paid, you pay your rent or your mortgage, you pay your taxes, you pay your utility bills. For some of you who have child support, you pay your child support. Then you pay your non-priority payments. And I inserted this here at the bottom. It may seem harsh, but it is actually one of the strategies for getting out of debt quicker. Stop using credit cards. Eliminate it. Cut it out. If you have to go on a credit card fast for 2 years or 5 years, do that. You will see the benefit of it. I have tried it as well. And it's amazing. Stop using credit cards. If debt is a serious problem and you really want to come out of debt, then take a fast from credit cards. Now you can climb out. Because we've established, you need to sort yourself out, establish where you are right now by sorting out your income and expenditure, sorting out yourself in terms of your temptation and your spending habits, and going forward, making a decision to pay your priority bills, your rent and your mortgage first. And I'm saying this, and some people might say, but why is she talking about this? Obviously. But I don't mean to disrespect anyone. But how many of you have seen the news and wonder, why is it that so many persons are being thrown out of their homes because they failed to pay their rent? Now, some persons are in a predicament that is different, but some are not. Recently, I watched BBC News, and they were showing persons who they borrow, they take those items on hire purchase, and they pay that first. The items that they took on hire purchase, the television, the refrigerator, the Xbox, and all those things that they took on hire purchase, they pay first, which here in the UK, there's one company in particular, I won't mention any names, but there's one company in particular, you pay 100% interest. So whatever the item costs, you pay twice. And their weekly payment is considerably high. And I recently saw a news report where persons pay these things first and fail to pay their rent, and then they found themselves in a situation where they were being approached to evict the property. So yes, it may sound like something simple. Why am I mentioning this? But sometimes people need to hear it. And there are people who may need to hear it. Pay your priority bills first. Then you see about the non-priority bills. Now, if you're in a serious crisis, here's a second way to get out of debt, which many people are not aware of. Because remember, some persons are aware of this, but there are some persons who are not privy to certain information. And then they find themselves being bombarded by the calls from the credit card agencies. And sometimes these agencies do not even provide them with information on ways that they can get help. Unless they get up and they go look for the help themselves and research and find ways. And one of the ways to get out of debt quicker if you're in a crisis is a debt management consultancy. Consult a debt management consultancy. They can provide great advice and they can guide you and give you the assistance you need to get out of that crisis. Contact your creditors, cut down on your outgoings. Now, we're talking about ways to get out of debt quicker. Cut down on your outgoings. If you would have done what I have said in step 1 as the first thing, establishing where you are right now, sort out your income and expenditure, then you will be able to determine which outgoings you could cut down on. Are we consuming too much electricity? Are the lights on all the time? Yes, winter is dark. It gets dark early. But can we open up, the curtains and the blinds during the day to ensure that proper light and ventilation comes through so that we can have the lights off? Do we waste water? Do we leave the tap running while washing dishes? And the example I gave previously, what about our cable TV? How often do you really watch sports? If you're a sports fan, that's great. But there are instances where we've taken that extra package from the cable television network and we hardly ever look at it. If we ever do, cut it out. How often do you eat out? Do you eat out every day for work? Or every other day? These are ways you can cut down on your outgoings when necessary. Do you eat out every night? Do you eat out 2 or 3 times a week with your family? Yes, eating out is a treat. But some of us, how often do we do it that it's impacting upon our income? And I won't even go into further details. You will be able to sort yourself out, whether it's gambling, whether it's, you will be able to sort yourself out and discover where your expenditure of what does it comprise. You will be able to sort that out. And of course, you can also research on where you can get help to pay mortgage. Now, the third thing, ways to get out of debt quicker, we can think outside the box. Now, if you have listened up to this point in this training, I want to thank you for listening, because I didn't want to start the training by just addressing the ways to get out of debt and we don't deal with the fundamentals. Why did we get into debt in the first place? And is it good debt or bad debt that dominates in our home life? And what are some of the things that we can do personally that needs to change? Our temptation or spending habits. Because if I present to you some of the ways to get out of debt and you don't address these core things, after maybe 3 months of honeymoon out of debt, we find ourselves in debt again. Why? Because of the temptation. We suddenly have a goal, a desire, a dream that we really want and want it now. So now, since we've done that, here are some ways to get out of debt quicker. Some other things you can do. Examine your skill set. Use your own talents and abilities. Learn a new skill. Search for a need in the market that you can supply. And after you've done all that, you position yourself. Examine your skill set. What are your strengths and abilities? What are you good at? Some of you listening to me right now are good at sewing. Some of you are good with pets. Some of you are good at homeschooling. You homeschooled your children and they excelled. Some of you are good at, let's see what else we can come up with, at writing. What are you naturally good at? And if not, what skill would you like to learn? Some of us have a desire where I always wanted to be a writer. So perhaps that's a skill you'd like to learn. What new skill that you can learn to meet a need in the market? And I want to interject here with my mom. My mom, although she's retired, she has a soap, bath, and body business, making candles as well. Soap, bath and body products, and candles. But she had to learn a new skill, even at her age. And she learned a new skill, started a business, and now she cannot even meet demand. So what she actually did is she repositioned herself. search for a need in the market. That's what I want to invite you to do now. When you're going through that process to get debt, you've established where you are. You've established where you want to be. When you're out of that financial freedom, and now you have to prepare a plan. Prepare a plan to do so. And that plan, of course, may include the self-reflection part of you, where I'm no longer going to be subjected to the temptation. I'm going to control my spending habits. That plan may include or should include the skills and abilities that I possess, my strong points, or the skill that I like to learn in order to meet a demand in the market. You know, because there are so many things that you can do to get out of debt. And I want to present 15 other things that you can consider. I'm sure many of you have heard of the Carnegie Foundation. Andrew Carnegie, he was way in debt. And Napoleon Hill said, and I quote from page 66, he said, Carnegie came out of it through self-developed and self-imposed habits. That is how he became, that's how his family acquired the wealth that they have now. The wealth was due to Andrew Carnegie's self-developed and self-imposed habits. This is the foundation, my friends. And this is where a life coach helps people. A life coach helps someone who comes with a debt problem, that they can identify what are my bad habits. Because in the majority of instances, whether we want to admit it or not, we fall into debt because of bad habits. If we have a debt problem, rather, it's because of a bad habit. And even when we have good debt, we find things getting out of proportion because of bad habits. So what are your self-imposed bad habits? You need to address them. And in addressing them, and you do some of the things that I'm about to share here, it can help you now to get out of debt quicker and not fall into debt again. We all know of freelancing. You go to Fiverr.com, Upwork.com. If you have certain creative talents and creative skills, you can go there and you can make some extra income. I mean, I have hired persons from Fiverr. They are web developers. There are, name it. They help you. They can write your book for you. They can publish your book for you. They can market your book for you. They can do book covers. Name the job. You can find it on Fiverr or Upwork. If you have creative skill like sewing, you can open an online Etsy store. Online surveys. Some people make a lot of money as well, extra income, by completing online surveys. Sometimes you have to do quite a many a day, but you can make an extra income. I've heard stories of persons who've made $1,000 extra a month through completing online surveys. You can start a blog, one that you monetize. And of course, that blog is meeting a need in the market, so you get great traction. I'm sure some of you, I can't recall her name right now, where she started a blog on fashion. And she's making a great income. It has to meet a need in the market. Affiliate marketing. All of us have heard of affiliate marketing, where you sell other people's products and you get a commission on it. It's another way that you can get an extra income and help to get out of debt quicker. You can also become a virtual assistant. And with many persons being self-employed, many persons who work from home, like myself, use a virtual assistant, can use a virtual assistant. So there are jobs out there for virtual assistants. And if you find that's one of your strengths, you have very good administrative skills, perhaps you can consider doing that part-time so that you can make some extra cash to get out of debt quicker. You can rent your car out. I know of some persons who rent out a room or the top floor of their home on Airbnb. You can do babysitting, care.com. If you're in the UK, childcare.com. You know, babysitting can also bring in some extra cash. We all know that it costs to babysit. You know, so you can definitely make some good cash, whether it's overnight or even a couple hours. You can help with regular chores, sites like taskrabbit.com. You can go there for jobs and help around. Some people need someone to clean and do some other chores around the house, and they pay well for it. So you can consider that as well. I remember a couple of years ago, I was much younger then, and I think we migrated. We were living in Trinidad at the time, and I was working, but I used to give extra classes, teaching French and math. I used that to pay for my driver's license, the classes to get my driver's license. The classes were quite expensive. So there are ways, there are things that you can do, that you could make that extra income, and it can give you the ease that you're looking for. Start a small business, a home daycare, cake baking. If you have great social media skills, become a social media expert. Sell online on eBay and Amazon. You know, my husband and I, we attended a workshop last year, a social media workshop, and we met someone, and she was making an income on Amazon, selling products on Amazon. That's how she was making her living. You can answer questions. There are sites where they pay you to answer questions for them, such as justanswer.com. So you can answer questions. Another thing, I'm sure we've all heard of the success stories of different authors who make their living writing. Start writing and publishing ebooks. If you can get as many ebooks as possible out there on the market, perhaps by the time you hit 10, 20, or 30 ebooks, you can actually have a monthly income coming in from that. Do you have great writing skills? Consider that. And you could write on something that you love, but also ensure that you're meeting a need in the market. Of course, well, if it's fiction, that's not necessary. But I know for non-fiction, self-help books are great. Business books do very well. Marriage books do well. So you look for what the need is, and you look for the area that's doing very well, and you write in that category. Or, number 15, you can consider some old-fashioned ways, like the garage sale or mowing the lawn. But it doesn't matter, because once you focus on getting out of debt, you're willing to do what it takes and whatever that you can do so that you can get out of debt. So here are my final points of reflection. Examine yourself and ask yourself, why did you get into so much debt in the first place? And be honest with yourself. It's the first step to change. And what about you that needs to change? Whether it's the temptation, like I mentioned, Andrew Carnegie, when he said it is self-imposed habits. What are the new self-developed habits that you need to acquire? And what will you do differently going forward? Because you've gone through the steps that I laid out, where you've sought out your income and expenditure, established where you are now, you know where you want to be, that you want to get out of debt. You've re-examined yourself, examined your skill set, and you've prepared a plan, whether that plan means starting your own business or writing and publishing ebooks, or perhaps getting some small jobs. But you have a plan now to get out of debt. What are you going to do differently when you find yourself out of debt, so that you do not fall back into the hole, so that you do not find yourself in a debt spiral? What are you going to do differently? And I want to leave you with a quote by Molière. Death are nowadays like children, begot with pleasure, but brought forth in pain. Ponder upon that. I don't think that I need to elaborate on it any further. It's begotten in pleasure because it's fulfilling that desire or need that we have or want, but it's brought forth in pain. The sacrifice that we have to endure, whether it's for the 10 or the 15 or the 30 years, to clear that debt, it's not easy. And that's the reality of life. But you can get out of debt. And there are some things that you can do. So I have provided some tips for you today. I hope that this training was valuable to you. I hope that it will benefit you. And perhaps if this is not a need in your life, then share it with someone who you know it will help them. Share this training with them. And if you've listened to the end, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I invite you to hop over to my website, www.peaklivingwithmel.com. I have some great resources there, great information. And I also have just released a free 5-day exclusive training on how to discover limiting beliefs, how to discover your limiting beliefs and to conquer it so you can live the life you want. It's an intensive free 5-day training. We'll be delighted if you will sign up. I can guarantee you that if you do the work, you will have a breakthrough that will be personal to you. So thank you very much and hope to see you again on my next webinar or Facebook Live. Thank you.